We are really happy that we could have welcomed Peter Worden, who is former NASA Ames director, at our event, 9th Space Night, organized by ESA Prague. And the event is part of a huge initiative called Czech Space Year 2018.
I'm currently the chairman of the Breakthrough Prize Foundation and executive director of the Breakthrough Initiatives. We work on trying to answer some of the great questions of science. Is there life elsewhere? Is there intelligent life? And can we travel between the stars? I was the former director of NASA's Ames Research Center, which was one of NASA's 10 centers. We were in Silicon Valley. So I have a lot of background in working with space startups and Silicon Valley companies. In addition, I'm currently an advisor to the government of Luxembourg on space resources, mining the asteroids in the Yes, there's a lot of interesting things going on. What my foundation is involved with is space experiments to find out if there's life elsewhere. Right now we know of no life off the Earth. This is something that both my foundation and space agencies around the world are looking at. The first place to look for life is other planets in our solar system. Interestingly, NASA just announced that there was some evidence, at least consistent with there being life under the surface on the planet Mars. But there are other experiments going on. My foundation is looking at working with NASA and the European Space Agency and others to see if we can send a probe to the outer solar system. There are places in the outer solar system that there are moons of Jupiter and Saturn that have oceans. There's ice on the surface of them, but some scientists believe in those oceans could be life. So that's a second thing. We're also working, and there are a lot of scientists working around the world to seek if we can find planets like the Earth orbiting some of the nearby stars. Indeed, we've begun to find evidence of that. One of the key missions that I worked on while I was at NASA was the Kepler mission, which was able to show that essentially every star like the Sun, and there's 10 billion stars like the Sun in our galaxy, has a planetary system. A very good working relationship between the space agencies. Many of the key scientific experiments are being worked jointly by not just NASA and the European Space Agency, but other space agencies around the world. Indeed, virtually every project is a collaborative project between space agencies in different countries. I think it's more. Indeed, one of the most interesting areas of investment and business development is in space. We're seeing huge increases in the investment, and I think potential profits being made. And the balance has shifted. 20 years ago, 70% of all money that went into space activities were government, they were public, and 30% were private. That's reversed now, that 70% of all investment is private. And we're seeing that there's very successful companies like SpaceX, but we're also seeing literally hundreds of startups around the world, some of them quite successful. Well, that's an interesting question. It's sort of like, which one of your children do you like the most? I grew up during the Apollo program. It inspired a generation around the world. But it was a one-time, when it was done, it was done. I think that the current research environment is probably the most exciting. I think we're on the verge of answering the fundamental question, are we alone? Is there life elsewhere? Is there intelligent life elsewhere? So I think of all times that this is the most exciting time for space research. But on the other hand, this is a very exciting time for private development. I think for the first time, young people can form companies where they can eventually make a lot of money, but also do wonderful things for mankind. So it's really a new era that, when I grew up, you either worked for the government or didn't get involved in space, or worked for a government support company. Now you can go off privately, it doesn't matter where you are in the world, and found a company to image the Earth, to transmit data. We're even seeing a lot of effort to, and a lot of it's here in Europe, to can we mine the asteroids and the moon to provide resources. So all of this is beginning. Well, I think the key success of the last 30 years has been, 25 to 30 years, has been the collaboration between former adversaries. I spent most of my early career, I was a military officer in the U.S. Air Force and was involved in confrontational systems. I was involved in the U.S. Star Wars program. That was the missile defense effort that the Russians didn't like. What I'm really pleased to see is that with the space station starting in the 1990s, that we're able to show we can get a lot more done together. The space station is a perfect example of global cooperation. It's gotten a lot of very interesting scientific results as well as commercial results. And as you noted, it's that regardless of how much argument the governments do, that the space agencies still work together. There would be no astronauts getting to the space station or cosmonauts or without the Russian systems. Well, I think that collaboration with NASA internationally is mostly on scientific areas. I think I would advise, if young people want to work with NASA, to get involved in scientific programs, research programs. On the other hand, I think that another way to work with NASA, or not just NASA, is to get involved in a space startup, a new company that try to find a new space product or application. One of the most exciting things that is that it used to be that spacecraft weighed thousands of kilograms, and now they weigh a few kilograms, and eventually, as I told the group here, they could weigh a few grams, and that means that you don't need to have billions of dollars or euros to start a company. You just need to have some good ideas. And I think that with those companies also, then you can sell products to NASA and the European Space Agency and other space groups.